Have you been struggling to save any money? Maybe you haven't even tried before, but now you want to start that journey of savings. Today we will discuss tips that will allow you to start saving money and to build up your bank account rather than steadily emptying it. So what steps can we take to prepare for savings? The reality is that most people aren't at a spot in life where they can even start saving money if they wanted to. Most people have varying levels of debt or expenses that must be managed and taken care of prior to saving money. Additionally, the most effective ways to save money come from having a plan. So before we get into tips to help save money, let's discuss how we can get ourselves ready to begin this journey. Step number 1 is to start tracking your expenses. It's almost impossible to start saving money if you don't know where your money's currently going. We must understand where our money is going and then how we can adjust to move some of that outgoing money to our savings accounts. So start tracking your monthly and weekly expenses to identify areas where you may be spending money that could otherwise be saved. Step number 2 is to identify areas where you can reduce your spending. The process of reducing your spending can take place over a long period of time, or it can be a relatively short process. Don't get caught thinking you have to slash all expenses and start saving 50% of your income tomorrow. Odds are you will need to slowly cut spending, adjust to the new budget amounts, and then repeat that process multiple times until you've become accustomed to your reduced spending budget. Be realistic and cut expenses where it makes sense, and leave them alone in areas where it's not a viable option to reduce that category. Step number 3 is to decide what is important to you. All of us are different, and to handle our budgets in the same way would be unfruitful for some and very beneficial for others. Find out what in your life you place the most value on and adjust your spending accordingly. If a good meal and eating out with your family is a huge deal in your life, then look for other areas to cut spending or reduce your eating out only slightly. Maybe you enjoy home-cooked meals, so you can cut eating out significantly, but your grocery bill may not need major cuts. Determine what is important to you and your family and make adjustments that align with your overall goals and desires. Step number 4 is to set savings goals for yourself. People tend to do better when they have direction and structure. Saying you want to save money is vague and can lead to confusion in the long run. Vague ideas can't be measured, and therefore success is hard to track. If, on the other hand, you say, I want to save $200 a month and increase that to $500 a month by next year, then you have clear, measurable goals to shoot for. With measurable goals, you have a target to shoot for and a method to determine how on or off track you actually are. Step number 5 is to set up a budget that accommodates savings. If you already have a budget, then you will want to shift around your categories and the amounts in each category. If you don't have a budget, then you'll need to build one. Take what you've learned in the previous steps and develop a budget that will align with the decisions you've made. By now, you know where your money is going, you know where to cut spending, you know which categories are most important to you, and you have clear goals that you want to reach. Now, it's just about adjusting your budget categories to match what your spending needs to be to reach the goals that you've set. As we mentioned earlier, make sure your adjustments are reasonable. Cutting your grocery budget in half to save money will likely fall apart. Start slow and see if you can handle the new budget amounts, and then continue to adjust as time goes on. I would also recommend using a budget that accounts for every dollar, meaning create a budget category for savings, for spending, for fun, and similar categories. This eliminates having any excess funds sitting out there unclaimed. So what day-to-day tips will help us with savings? If you follow the 5 steps we just discussed, you will have a good budget set up and be ready to start saving money. Now we can start to look at small daily activities that could help clean up some of your spending. There are a number of tricks and tips that can be done that will decrease your overall spending and therefore allow for higher savings. Tip number 1, prepare before going grocery shopping. There are so many deals and cheaper alternatives that with a little research you can save a ton of money. Most people tend to go to the store with no real preparation. They only equip themselves with a list. Research and identify cheap alternatives and add those to your list prior to going shopping. Tip number 2, order smaller portions or share meals when you eat out. In reality, most portions at restaurants are far greater than we need for our caloric intake. So order a large meal to split, or simply order a smaller portion. Get the 8-ounce ribeye instead of the 16-ounce. These decisions will start to add up over time, certainly for those who eat out often. Tip number 3, set a limit to the amount you can spend online. Online shopping is convenient and easy to do, and for that very reason, many people end up overspending. Additionally, with auto-renewing order options, you may find yourself with 0 savings but 900 tubes of toothpaste. Limit the amount of shopping that you do online each month. Tip number 4, cancel unnecessary subscriptions or downgrade to a more appropriate subscription. With so many different subscription plans for various services today, we can find ourselves with a high amount of expense. This is unnecessary. The number of options should eliminate those old days of having a cable subscription with 400 channels that you only watch 5 of. Cancel or downgrade your services to only those that you absolutely need. Tip number 5, plan out your larger purchases. Rather than making large purchases on a whim, plan them out and budget accordingly ahead of time. Many people will decide they need something and will rush out to go get it. Instead, take time, plan out how much you want to spend and how long it will take you to get that money. Then make the purchase when you're ready to. A large purchase is relative. For some, a few $100 is a large purchase. For others, it may be a car. Regardless of how much it is, if it's large in your budget, then plan out that purchase carefully. If you want to save money, you will need to come up with a strategy and develop a budget to help you. Once that is in place, you need to make the necessary changes to keep your spending down and your savings up. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more content like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified of any of our upcoming videos. We'll see you guys next time.